Hi, my name is Damien Montero. As we do weekly here at BocaJS.org, we try to give you a lunch and learn. Normally, this would be an event that you would have with yourself and other members of your team, whether it be other developers, IT staff, other project managers, or other teams in other divisions. And you guys would share with each other something that's unique that you can believe that others can help from that. I'm going to try to keep this to about 10-15 minutes. These are normally either slides or me coding. In this case, it will be me coding on something that I feel it's useful for you as developers, whether you're senior, junior, starting off, or just been here for about 20 years, just myself. My name is Damien Montero, and today we'll be doing it about searching for data. Now, no UFOs here. Trust me, you'll be interested in what we're doing here. Again, my name is Damien Montero. I've been doing this for 19 years, really at this moment 20 years. Time to update that slide. I love me some JavaScript, so I will be using JavaScript, and I'm the organizer of BocaJS. BocaJS is an organization that meets once a month. On the first Tuesday of the month, you can check out more information on BocaJS should you wish. Now, actually, let's go ahead and that was a little sausage making, a little behind the scenes there, and start with what we did in the last Lunch and Learns or several Lunch and Learns ago. We did is we explained to you how to submit something to GitHub or to add to something. When we were doing this is for this particular type of website. This is sort of an API. It's a sample API. It's a wonderful little project by the team members that I'm affiliated with, the Palm Beach JS organization. And what they've done is they've created an easy to utilize API with information. And if you look at it, what they'll have in this case, the one I'm interested in and the one I submitted, was a list of countries. These countries will have the names, the capitals, all sorts of different things. So, for example, here's a beautiful JSON, which is accessible through API endpoints that they describe in their documentation, where you can see, for example, you can get a list of countries. Having had that list of countries, what you can do at that moment, I'm going to go ahead and close that, is click and see the capital of each country. So there's the capital with the code, and of course the capital that it is. So, for example, Belgium has the Brussels, I always get that wrong, capital in there. And you would have a list of the countries, and you could list them out there and say which is the capital, and then you could show the capital based upon the index or information about it. Enough talk. What we did in the last one is we did the population. All right, so let's do that. So we're looking for a bit of calculation, and what I wanted to do is show you much more than just, for example, how I parse it or I created it or I manipulated it. I wanted to show you the whole process about it. So we're going to be a little bit of knick-knack of me going through it and really utilizing what's going on. And one of the biggest things I remember people were saying to me is, that the better developers, or pardon me, better developers, senior developers, people that have been around for longer and simply have made more mistakes than you and I. What they've done is they know how to search better. Google, be able to find out what you could go and say world population, population. You're going to get a bit of a hint of what I would be searching for. And here we are. There's the world population. Google has given us information. Wonderful. That's fine. And I could go and say the word population for Colombia and get an answer for that. And I could go through all of them. It's not so ridiculous. I could write down each one. There is something to the order of 200 countries, I do believe, and so therefore it will be fairly easy for us to go one at a time and just simply write it down in a way or a format that would work with the API and the results that we're looking for. But let's get a little creative and figure out if we can get someone to help us a little bit. So I'm going to choose the JSON. You could have chosen different formats. This is what I enjoy very much. I'm going to click on the first one to see what's going on. This is a format that it's very easy to manipulate and to parse in JavaScript, as we're going to see in 1 second. This is a very popular website that's called Data.world that has a bunch of different information. There are open source information. Now, where they got it from and whether they're legitimately getting it and sharing it with you, that's different. But if you can download it without any login, or it's accessible, then you are welcome to use it. Otherwise, make sure you read the terms of whatever information you're getting. In this case, this is a public domain, as you can see on the right-hand side over there on the screen. Now, it's wonderful, and you're saying, wait a minute, it's only countries, only a few countries there. What they have is 195 countries, and they're listed not only by the actual country, but the rank, by the name, population. Wonderful. We've done our job. Wait a minute. Here's the problem with this kind of information in the computer world. And if you didn't see it right away, I want you just to think about it next time you're doing it. The countries are in the full names. And normally we wouldn't be able to do that. We would have to have something that's unique, something that is 100% the same. And it's very easy for most of us, and most of you, I believe, which I'm sure live in the United States. I don't think I'm big enough that the rest of the world is seeing me. But one of the things that we have in the United States is we have many, many different words for the same country which we all live in. China, of course, has a different words. And I do not mean simply a different pronunciation. For example, Deutschland is how you pronounce Germany in German. But even in English, United States can be called, as you see, US, U period S period U period S period A period USA, United States of America, or the Great One. Whatever you'd like, it is possible that may be what you're looking for. And when you want to correlate and say that, I want to say the name of the country plus the capital plus the population, to be able to merge that information together, you're going to have something unique. And what they've done, let's go back to the APIs, is they've chosen sort of these 2-digit letters. Now, I wish they would have chosen 3, and I'll show you why in just a second. But they've chosen 2, and that's what will work for them. So in other words, we have to end up with a format very similar to this. And if you don't know JSON, it's very, very similar to C. The square brackets at the top of the screen is such that it's an array or a list of individuals. The curly brackets means it's a collection. This is one of those collections, one of those individual things, and it is of type, and then they have an index, and then colon with the answer we're looking for. And in this case, it's going to be the name, and we're going to have a population. So in ours, for example, it would have BE colon 26 million people, whatever the population of Belgium is. Barbados, 6 million people, whatever the particular population of Barbados is. So again, we could be doing this manually on a nice Excel spreadsheet and then create a JSON file that we can upload and contribute to the GitHub version of this project. But let's do this JavaScript work. All right, getting back to our information. As you can see, this is beautiful, absolutely beautiful information, but it's just missing something unique, either 2 digits, or you'll see later on a 3-digit population that gives us more information. So let's go back to Google, and I like to open up in a new tab for this particular reason, because I don't know when the next time is going to be the best one. This is good, but let's go back. I am, of course, controlling everything by keyboard, so don't be aware that sometimes it looks like I'm talking to you with my hands, and it's the way as I've been brought up. But I'm truly have one hand at least in the keyboard, and I'm switching back and forth. Just be aware of it. I'll try more to use the mouse. Let's try the second one and see how good we get as far as results. Okay, this population gives us another very popular website for data that I truly love, the datahub.io website, which has a lot of information about it, and we'll see why in just a minute. Let's scroll down, and I particularly know this particular one, and I'm looking not for the CSV, not for the XML, not for any format, not for an API, which you can do, but for the JSON format of the file. And I do have one version on the right-hand side. Now, we can get a quick glance at what's going on in here, and they have something very interesting. Now, I do see something here, which is, it does seem to have countries. Let me scroll down here, but it seems to be repeating it every time. What's going on? Well, if we look very carefully, actually what it does have is countries, and it also has areas, and more importantly, per year. So, interesting information, not quite there, but we can probably use it. The values are correct. I've checked some of these for instance. So if we go ahead and choose, say, United States, or pardon me, Argentina, Colombia. I happen to know the pretty well the population of that. Well, I was hoping that we ought to sort it by the name and get down to where the Columbia is and get the information. Well, let's just get in kind of in our set. Now you might say, perfect, let's just go ahead and grab it and then we'll spit it out and try to guess at the format. There's some better ways of doing it. So I'm going to open up and hold down the control key as I'm clicking, and I'm going to open a new tab, and this is what we're seeing. Beautiful data. And right away, because you're a computer hacker, you've been able to figure out what's going on. I, on the other hand, don't know what's going on. I know it's JSON, so I need to be able to see it in a human way. I'm going to open up a new tab and go to my favorite web pages for JSON. It's called JSONParserOnline.fr. Now I have already pasted. It takes a little bit of time to process the information, so just bear with it. On the left hand side is what I've seen on the page. It's what I gotten from that particular web page. I could have downloaded it, opened an editor. I just simply knew I could right click on it and open it. On the right hand side is a parsed version, and you'll see in just a minute. It takes a little bit of time to go through because there's a lot of information. These will give you kind of an easy way for you as a programmer to see what's going on in here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm trying to speak a little bit more so that it will parse, but we'll be able to see more information about the sort of fields that we're getting in here. Taking me a little longer than this. All right, so here we are. So what it is on the right-hand side, what I've been able to see and truly figure out what we have here is we have the country code with 3 letters. Almost up there. The full country name, again, we don't really need it unless we wanted to sort of correlate with another bit of information, but we're okay with that. We have a database with names. The value, and the actual value is correct, and the year. And if you look carefully at the Arab world, what you're going to see is it's every single year. So what we have is a beautiful list. Now, if it had, for example, everything of 2018, 2019, 2016, which I'll give you a hint, that's the latest years it has, would be okay. But it's a bit of a combination, and we don't want to populate that list that we saw earlier with the population other than, say, for example, the latest that we have information. So we need to grab that information and filter it down. Okay. Time for some JavaScript. I'm going to go back to the tab that has all the information. I'm going to go Control S. It'll give me a chance to save. Now this is a Ubuntu, but it's not a big deal. You understand that there are all sorts of different ways of saving information. I've created a folder called World Population. This is population, and I will name it as such. Okay, and I've saved it. I'm going to go, hello there again. I'm going to go to my favorite editor, and I will be able to see that I've been playing around a little bit with how to do this. Always be prepared, boys and girls. So there's our file. It is our format, and what we have to do here is be able to parse it. And what I like to do is do things in Node. And for making it easy, although this isn't required, we can do npm init, and that will create some basic information as far as a project that we'll be able to save for later, should we be able to keep it for later. Now, also, what it will do is it will create a package.json file, and I won't go too much into it. I just like to change this particular part over here, which is what file it's going to open. And you'll see why in just a second. All right. So what I want to do here at this moment is create that file that's going to be the JSON file. This is the JSON file, easy peasy. We're going to be using we're really going to be using one library. That library is the FS library, which is the core of everything that we normally do as far as reading and writing to files. And although we could do a fetch for these URLs, that would be a fine thing. We won't do it for this one, just to skip ahead and not get into those weeds. So I'm going to go const fs equals require fs. You can look up information about it on the mpnjs.org/fs. That will give you all the details about this particular library, as it will do a bunch of different libraries. Oh, there is no details. Well, it's time for you to Google then that information. All right, let's go back to here. We have the library ready. It's called fs. It's under a variable called fs, and we have to read the particular file. So let's go ahead and read that file. Population equals fs.readFileSync. Okay, now readFileSync, what it is expecting a file first, and it'll be the population file, population.json. And I put a period here with the idea of saying that, well, Let's just put it like that. And it does require a particular format, and most of the format is always UTF-8. Now, it's just simply a basic format. Now, unlike a lot of other libraries that you will see, this term doesn't require a callback or doesn't require a promise, or you don't need to put a wait. It will already have it by itself. It will start, process the file, read it, all of it into not a buffer, but simply text that you can look at it a little bit later in the system. We can prove that by going console log population, and our browser will, our IDE will help me out here, if it will. Oh my, population. And I can run it. And here's the trick about node. I'm going to be able to go node period. I'm going to be able to put period because of the fact that it's able to see that the package.json file had a particular file, and this particular file was app.js. So if I had anything else, it wouldn't be able to do that. Okay, so here it is, reading our wonderful file. That's a lot of information. And the reason why it's a lot of information, again, is because of the country. Let's go back and look at that. Not here. We can't really read it here. It's our JSON parser. That's going to come up in a second. What it's going to show us is a couple of different things. And truly is, what we have is the nation and the year. And we're going to go through the list. So I'm going to go in again, one more time, open up the file. I'm going to open up JSON parser, and we will go ahead and paste it on the left-hand side. Once it parses it, will give us some information as far as the countries and the populations it is. So again, it was a list of countries, and it had multiple rows for the same country. Why? Because it had multiple rows for different browsers. All right. 16 gigabytes of memory on this particular machine apparently is not enough. Let's see how it goes as far as loading it here. It seems to be taking a while. Let's try it on a different one. Parse, JSON, and let's Google that. I do have my favorite, but let's see if we can get a better one. Apparently this is the best one according to it. I'm going to paste it on the left-hand side and see if I can see it on the right-hand side. Okay, I might have to do a bit of my apologies. I'm going to have to cheat a little bit and tell you that the particular file that we're looking at, this particular file that we have here, well, let's look at the file actually. We don't need to guess. It starts with the country code. It has a country name. It has a value. We're looking for that value. That's important to us. We need the country code. That's important to us. The value, and importantly, the year. Now, importantly, the year, because we need to filter out everything that isn't the right year for us. So let's do that. And how do we do that? With a constant, with a common way of doing this. So we're going to say population dot filter, and we're going to say for each country, once we go through each country, only return the ones where the country, I'm sorry, we don't need to do the return. We can if it's complex, but if we're just going to do one particular field, as we are in here, is where the country year is equal to 2016. So I happen to have checked, and the latest version of this was that. If we do this, at this moment, we're just going to return nothing. Well, we're going to have the population exactly the same way. We need to set the variable back to itself. Whenever you do anything with map, filter, reduce, what it's doing is giving you a new array. Now, you are perfectly fine setting the existing array to the new array, saying, yeah, I want that array filtered. But perhaps you did not want that array filter. You wanted a new one that you were going to spit out or do something about or compare to something else. All right. Trust me, at this moment, well, don't trust me, nothing. Let's go and spit it out as we normally do. Console log, and there's the population here. I'm going to do a bit of a trick here. I'm going to use a program called NodeMon. And what NodeMon is, it's giving an error here. Let's correct it here. But you'll see what NodeMon does right away as I save it. LoadMon is essentially waiting for me to do the information, this particular thing, and then be able to parse it again. So I forgot for my notes here. We have data, and data is in JSON format, but it isn't a JSON object. It isn't a JavaScript object. What we have to do here is grab the data, which is in the JSON format, and parse it into a JSON object. Now the population is an object, and it's going to be ready for us to use that. Okay, population, assignment, constant variable. Oh, very good. So constants can be different variables, but constants can be, it's non-immutable and should not be changed. There are breaking information about that, but let's continue on. We have now a population that's only the 2016 population. Good. All right, we're almost there. At this moment, we could almost spit this out and give it back to that if we can simply say, you know what we really want is we only want a few of the information, a few of the fields. For example, I'll show you what it is. I want the population equals population. All right, so the same filter. And I'm going to be going through it and only, so when it comes to this one, again, I'm going to CC for country, and I'm going to return only a couple of things. I'm going to create a new object. So I'm going to grab each one of the packages, which is the country with a bunch of information, and type in a short one like code2, and you'll see why in a minute, pardon me, code3, and is equal to the C, and I can't do period here. Now, the reason I can't do period here is because normally I could be able to do the parameter. I'll be able to do this for the year or the value, as you can see below. But the reason why I can't do period is it has a space. And I would have to go country, space, code, and, well, it doesn't understand that, right? It doesn't understand that that's the parameter name. So what we can do here is treat it almost as an array. So this trick means that it understands that the parameter or the field that has this information in this one is called country code. I'm going to go ahead and add one more thing and then say, oops. Okay, so we're going to put the country code. All right, the country code is going to be, see what the curly brackets is. I just read my notes here. I'd seen it a little bit. Won't believe me, but there's a laptop next to me with some cheat notes. Pardon me. You can see the microphone's also over there. So there's a couple. We were getting back to the information. We were getting to get something more coalesced, more cleaner than what we need. We just need the country code and just the 3 digits, and I call that code 3. Just my way of saying that, and then the value. We'll say population as my particular name, and then that I choose, and then dot value. Whoops, values with capital S. I'm going to save that, and it's going to run that. Now you'll see right away that we are able to get back exactly what's going on, and we're getting to a good place. We now have an array of objects, and if I scroll down just a little bit, you'll see that it's all the things we're looking, not too far, pardon me, it's an array where the 3 digits that we're looking for are there. So let's go down to, they seem to be all over the place. There we go. Now it's in alphabetic orders. Before it was the areas here. And you'll have things like, it looks like the 3 digits for China, for Chile, for Canada, I believe it is, CAN, Colombia, there it is, and we can confirm that because I know that Colombia is about 49, and that sounds about right. It says 48 if you sort of see it over the 5th one down. It's COL. All right, we're almost there. If we had here a way to have the codes be 2 digits, I could do this a different way and then be able to go ahead and say, well, we're done. We have a population as we need it. But the format we need is 2 digits of country code plus something else. Okay, we need something else. We need one more way of doing it. I can't just guess. And 2 digits does not mean cutting off the first 2 digits, so COL becomes CO. Now, in that way, it will work. But in other situations, for example, CHN, which is for China, does not translate correctly to CH, which is actually Switzerland. So what we need is a different way of doing that. All right. So let's get rid of this. Thank you. Vertical page that we were trying to get. We've gotten information. We're looking at here is a particular page. Now, I won't bore you to information because I think we're getting a little bit late in time. But we're looking here is the, whoops. Yep. This is my cheat codes or information here. It is the ISO 3166 country codes by region code. Oh, yes. You may want to Google it. And what I Googled, and this is what this presentation is about, so let's do that. Country codes, 3 digits to 4 digits. So I Googled something that made sense. I started with the biggest thing, country codes, and understood things like, for example, I'm looking for more than just country codes. I'm looking for more than just short country codes. I'm looking for something more specific. I've said country codes 3 digits and 2 digits. I could have said letters. It would have been probably a better choice, because digits would also mean country or telephone codes. That's very common. 2-digit code is how we sort of know which country we're calling when we use a telephone number. So that was something of a mistake, but Google has been very gracious to me and given me the exact we're looking for. And we're getting the exact same thing that we're going here. So again, I Googled country codes, 3 digits to 2 digits. Try to be as specific as possible. On top of that, I've added JSON to get the most information about it. I've looked at this information, and it has, for example, a list of both CSV, JSON, and XML versions of the 2 digits country codes, along with their full qualified name, as well as other information, like, for example, the country code where you, I guess, dial it. I don't think that's correct, but perhaps it's a country code of a different number. But we don't need that. We need a combination of both the 2 and the 3, and they've been kind enough to do that for us. So let's go ahead and look at that. This is a wonderful, let's click on raw. And by the way, that's one of the tricks. And let me go back. It says this part of this, whenever you find something, there are some tricks, which is when you find something of a JSON file in GitHub, click on this raw. If it's a image or a PDF, it will actually bring you what exactly you're looking for. So here we go. We have a list. I've gone Control-A, Control-C to copy it. I'm going to open up my favorite web page one more time, and hopefully it will load up fast. It is loading up very fast. We will get our sort of computer readable information, and on the right hand side we have something that's now wonderful. All right, so we'll go ahead and save that. I'm going to go ahead, oops, sorry about that. I'm going to go Control S to save it, and going to say, how about 3, 2, 2. 3 digits, 2 digits. Try to be as country code. As verbose as possible, I would say, in variable names and file names. You never know when the next time that you have to look at it, you yourself will be able to look at it. They always say the next person is going to be a person that really needs that information. You should be nice to it. The next person could be you. So just want to make it easy on you. Okay, so let's read that. So I'm going to go let country 3 to 2 equals JSON. I'm simply copying what's above. Read file sync. Which file? The one I have pasted on my clipboard. Pardon me about that noise. And UTF-8. Okay. So at this moment we have that, and we can look at what's going on in there and confirm that we have that correct file by saving it. Again, our beautiful NodeMon or Node Monitor will give us some information on what's going on here, and it looks fantastic, and we can look at it. I can see it right away at what it's supposed to look like. Okay. So let's recap. We have a variable right now that was picked up from a file that had multiple countries with multiple populations by year. We only grabbed the latest years, and we trimmed that Excel spreadsheet of duplicate countries, but separated by the years, to single country per line. Essentially, you think of a big Excel spreadsheet. And that country had all the countries that we were interested about, or at least the ones that we could find in this particular database. And then we went ahead and created a new kind of object that just had a variable or a parameter called code3, which represents the 3-digit code and the population. Now, what we're going to do with this country 3 to 2 is we're going to go through now that population file and create a new wonderful list of variables that will will grab the existing 3 digits that we have in 2 digits, that we have in our 3 digits, in our population database, our preparation JSON file data, utilizing some tricks, we will parse it, get it together, and add to it. Let's get right to it. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go and say population. We are going to do the same thing we did above and essentially go through it again. .map, that simply loops through it, and we will get all of them one at a time. And we will return a new object. Now, what does this new object look like? Let's make it a little bit spacey here so we can see what's going on. We're going to go and say, okay, this new object is going to have a country code. And this country code is going to be the 3 digits country code. Let's do that. We could combine it all here, but let's essentially reply what we did. So we're going to go code 3 equals C code 3, what we had before. Wow, well, you did nothing, Damien. That's okay. But you'll see what I'm doing about C population. If we did nothing, essentially we're returning through the loop and returning exactly what we did before. Pardon me, it's very hot in this studio. So, but we're going to add one more. There is one more called code 2. So code 2 is going to grab utilizing something that we have here with arrays, with JavaScript, with Node, is because it is fairly modern. JavaScript is much more modern than your browser, so you can do these type of things. And we will get essentially our wonderful code of information here from the other one called country 3 to code, and we will have it sort of with a database type feel. Tell the system, go find me the 3 digits that matches this and give me here the 2-digit versions. How do we do that? Here we do country to code, yes, dot find. All right, you didn't never even do that. Country code, country code, any variable you want, I guess it is. And then we're going to go and say find the exact copy where the code, where this variable for this loop inside here, so the country 3 to code, dot alpha 3 is equal to the outside variable, which in this case was C, as you can see from the top over here, dot code 3. Okay, so what will that do? That will give us a list. Let's cross our fingers here. There's always a chance that it couldn't. And this is our chance. I'll show you why it didn't work in just a second. But as you can see, what we should have done is we should have gotten essentially the same kind of list we had before with the country and the population, but also it looked up the information about it. Now, the reason why it didn't is this information right here. Oops. So we had the same. Now, we may be still recording or not. Hopefully we have been recording. Pardon me for the interruption. Let's continue on. We were rudely interrupted with the following information. Damien doesn't remember that minus signs are not valid information. Okay, so at this moment, what we want to do is find, perfect. So we have this information. This would work just fine if it was that we needed a particular thing. Okay, so we have a particular object that we're going to come back. Again, we were trying to get our magical country 322, which is a data set, an object list, which has country codes. We would grab it, and we're going to do a bit of a trick here. We now have an object. This object, if you remember, has the country full name, the alpha 3, the alpha 2, and if we grab it and we shove it in an object, I'm going to go ahead and do that and save it. It goes ahead and grabs that information as you see there. It didn't grab that information. Okay. It should have grabbed that information. Let me see what I'm doing wrong. Country code, that's fine. And the alpha 3. Okay, well, let's do this. Let's get that information because I think I should have grabbed that information. I was going to explain to you what we would have ended up with an object here, but we should have been able to do alpha 3. Okay, so we should have grabbed the full object, which is everything that you see here. For example, for Honduras, it should have said, for this particular one, find the one that's working from this list. Find its object that matches the following, which is, nope, no, I had it right. So CC where in object, too many curly brackets. Okay, so we have an object. We're really, and we'll look at it in just a second, but if we look at it carefully, we're looking to attach this one, find it, and once you find it, we get all this. We don't want to shove it in there. If we do, I'll show you what it is. We end up doing a little bit more. Each one of the objects has an object within it, and this we just want, for our purposes, to be a value or a string. Now, we know what it's like. We know that actually we can go in there and just want this information. So I could shortcut it and just say, you know, at this moment I have the object. It is represented by what I'm about to do. So I can do things like alpha 2. Now, all of a sudden, you'll notice, oops, did I stop that? Oh my. Well, I thought I was going to, well, yeah, we can do that. We can go ahead and encapsulate this code within some brackets so that it is itself an object. Wow. And it should have worked, but if not, that's okay. It's just telling us you're doing a bit too much for us over here. So let's look at this. In this map is a looping kind of a format. And so we're going to say the code 2. So we're going to say let code 2 equals, this is the whole object. So code 2 object. Now this represents everything that is matched here. And it's what it means is the alpha 2s and the alpha 3s, etc. And the country name and all that. We're into defined. I beg to differ here. So let's go ahead and spit it out here one more time. You know, this is a little bit of debugging. We don't normally see this in kind of a code, but it is part of it. All right. In this object, we should have an object called alpha 2. All right. Maybe I've spelled it wrong. Oh my. Why is it not copying? Oh my. Let's do that over here. I'm going to come right click. I'm going to copy. I'm going to come in here. And I'm going to say this is an object. But I know, Mr. Object, that inside you have, oh, whoa. You have this thing. Let's do that one more time. Right click, copy. And we should have, at this moment, wow. I think I press the Control C and it's complicated because it is different and all that. So in this particular case, we do have an object here. And it is valid to be an object, and it finds it here. Ah, right. So here's the problem. And I already did this in the code. There is a chance that this particular object is, let's see if we can do this. I'll explain to you what this is doing in a second. It's not doing it. Okay. There's a chance this object is null. And in some situations, it will be null. When it is, it crashes. So we can do a ternary and say if the object exists, that's in JavaScript, all we have to do to say the object, we don't have to check if it's null or undefined. We just simply put the object. Then we return this. In fact, that would be fine, but that would mean that we would leave some blank. We're going to do something a little bit better than that. We're going to go and say, you know what? Check if the whole object is before you even return something. So if the object exists, then return a variable. Bingo. So now we have a object that contains the words code 3, the value of the country, the population of the country, and the short version of it. We can quickly sort of glance through it, and we should do a better job than what I'm doing, but simply glancing through it. Make sure we got them all right, but most likely it fixed. So again, we seem to have been missing that. By the way, that was just me explaining what the error was and all that. Okay, we're almost there. Why are we almost there? You're saying you have the country code you need. Okay, let's go back to the examples. The example here with a capital as an example. This is the format we're looking for. An object where the variable name, the property name, is this 2 digits. Now, this might be like, oh my goodness, I don't have the 2 digits. But this is important because this is how we're going to be able to look it up. Once we have the list of the countries here, we're going to have everything is by these 2 digits. So here's the capitals. Let me go ahead and close that. Here is the currency, and it will have the 2 digits and all that. So we have to achieve that goal. How do we achieve that goal? Okay, there's one more step to go. We've done this in this way, we could have stepped it and combined these kind of steps. The trinary wouldn't have worked very well because we would have ended up with some variables that had the code 3 plus the population plus nothing on the right hand side. And what we would rather do in this particular business case is we would rather eliminate those lines. So if we can't find a match, let's just simply eliminate it and let's continue on. All right, but let's get back to what we're doing. We want to have an object that says the code2 name, not the word code2, the code2 name. Let's think about how we're going to do that. And we have to go through it. Code2 name and the value, the population. And we'll simply put the value, just simply a value. We will not have the words population equals something like that. We'll just simply have the value to match what we're having in there. All right, so what we do, we go again through our map, which simply is a shortcut to looping through. Here we are looping through everything. And what it needed was for me to return something. Okay, so I need to return something that is the right value and all that. So I'm going to go return. Now here I have the C variable, and the C variable in this case, what it has is everything we needed to. Now we're going to be a bit of a trick here. What we're going to do is we're going to, I see what I did over there. We're going to do, we have to essentially return a name. If we needed to do something like name, and then, you know, the name, we go C dot code2. Because code 2 is what we're caring about there. And then you go population, all of a sudden I can't spell, and go C dot population. But that's not the format they're looking for. They're looking for the variable name. Now we can't go C2 is equal to, because that's the value of code 2. We need to be able to grab the code 2 value, which is going to be, if you look at the example, the very bottom is CK CZ, CY, DK, and then the number on the right hand side. So how do we do that? Okay, here's the trick. We're going to let a new object, it doesn't really matter name here, but here's what it's going to be doing. We're going to send it and start blank, and then we're going to return the object. Now you're like, well, it's going to be a blank object. This is true. But here's the trick that you might not know. The moment you have an object, you can refer to objects or properties that don't exist to them as if they did. And the moment you insert to that, or you define them, as we're going to do in a second, they come to existence on that object. So we're going to go object. We're going to use this trick of pretending that it's an array, but it's not, as we did above. Well, instead of name, like Damien, or population, or name, we're going to choose the C dot code 2. That's it. So then we go, what is the value of that code 2? Well, it's D dot population. Now, you may have just guessed it, but that's about it. Pardon me, I did it as if I was in an object here. So what we do here, you thought I was done, is we do this. So let me get my cursor on the way there. So we've created a blank object. We've referred to a property that does not exist, they will be different for each and every single one of the objects. For Colombia, it will be CO. For the United States, it will be US. For Canada, it will be CA. And we're going to simply set it to that population. And as you guessed it, when we save, we get an error. Let's look at what's going on in here. We had one object called C2. We did. And then we had the code, C2, the C, okay. And then we had population. We can't read property of 2 of undefined. Okay. Okay, so a little bit lost here, but we should have done. And it should have been thanking me for your time. But instead, let's loop through it and do a little bit of investigating here. Console log. And we should be getting some information here. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. And it says it cannot understand what C2 is. Strange, because we defined it here. All right, did we not set it up here? Let's see what's going on in here. Let's see if we create a little debug here. So we do have a code 2. We do have, it must be something with a name. So let's go ahead and do this. See if we can do it the way we've been explaining, that we can do things over here, and see if that is the problem here. That is not what the problem is. There's still something wrong with the C, and the object doesn't understand what it is. So let's do a little debug as we do and look at the actual objects. And there are a lot of undefined. And here's what the problem is. And truly it was letting us know what's going on in there. So somewhere in our information here, we've skipped over some when it went map and it reduced. So let's see this. Return. Oh, let's do filter. We do have still this information. Okay, we do have some variables that are undefined. Somewhere in it, we should have had some issues. We look like we've inserted some blanks in other situations. It would be unusual for it to be that way from anything else other than this line here or this section over here, right? We should have, with filter, we would have been able to go and say, don't just more than just, go through it. We are filtering through the information. I'm looking here at my cheat codes here. And, okay, so there would be in my cheat codes here, what we've done is we filtered on this one. We're going to continue this conversation in a different way. What we normally did is I would filter over here of the ones that I couldn't find first. I've now filtered them down. You know what? Let's do that. Let's map through it. And then, but before we do that, this is where our cheat codes I've done here. I've now gone filter. And I've said, you know what? If I cannot, so I've said here that I filter where is not null. Okay. I've done this, pardon me, where filter is not null. Let's do that. We do still see some filters. Okay, we'll do that one more time here. Oh. Undefined. All right, so this should have filtered the information. Maybe there's a typo here, which is not grabbing the information, but we should have filtered out anything that is undefined, or not null. Well, all right, we'll have to continue on. There is, as always, every developer has problems, and we won't continue or bother you with information. What we do here, though, is we want to go and say, here we want to check the same thing we did before. So we can say if C if C, in other words, if we don't have a null or something like that, then we can do our work here. And then we can continue on the same code we had before. In fact, this would have worked before just fine if we had had information. There's a filter that I'm missing here at one particular information that we end out doing that. But as you can see, we ended up with the right information. So here we are. We can go ahead and we have a beautiful file. We're ready to go, and we can go fs.write file. The file name will be countries for GitHub.json, and then the data will be the json.stringify. We need to grab not a JSON file to it or an object that has to parse. We need to give it the text. This will be population, and it will be that's it. We will create this is going to be incredibly fast. We can do a callback here that says console log done. And what you will see here is something a little bit funny. You might be able to see. Whoops. What is happening is that NodeMon is seeing a new file being created and then reloading itself, and the file is getting created over and over and over again. So let's go ahead and delete that file. A lot of nulls, a little disappointing. I won't lie to you. And we'll go node dot, and there's the file. Now, there is some nulls in there, quite a bit of nulls, but there is the data that we have in here. Now, we'll look in, it was the top information where we searched the files. So our line there was when we went through the list of ones that we matched. It is here that we're failing the match to figure out which one it is that's the right code, and which ones perhaps have the right truth or not. So it should have been ones where we should have been able to do this. Let's try that one more time. Not equal to null. This will not do anything and throw out the system, but so let's go ahead and delete that. Just can't win them all, but sometimes you do. Here we are. We have the formula we're looking for. I'm going to go through a JSON prettifier to upload it to GitHub and to our repository that will have it exactly in the right format. Again, we were trying to get, let me show you, this kind of a format. We'll do a prettifier that puts it on different names so it's easier to see, easier to submit. We will go through the same process that we've gone in the other GitHub video that we've seen. This has been a little bit longer. My name is Damian Montero. We do these lunch and learns every week. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed my debugging techniques. I hope you enjoyed my frustration at not getting something in front of you guys perfectly on the first time. I hope you enjoyed my Googling and how to figure out the right information and give you some hints about some data that you might be interested in the future to utilize in your projects. I want to hear about your projects. I want to hear what you want to learn. I want to hear what you want to teach me. Down in the comments, please like and subscribe. If you haven't told your friends about it, please do so. It has been an honor. My name is Damian Montero. We'll see you next time.